Demon Slayer's main character may be Tanjiro, but he's certainly not the strongest character in the series. In fact, many surpass him in a multitude of ways. On the other hand, he's the one who shows the most compassion and growth throughout the series. And with that said, since it's his story at the end of the day, let's take a look at Kamado Tanjiro's unpredictable life. Within a small town surrounded by woods and not many neighbors close by, Tanjiro lived peacefully with his loving family. His parents were charcoal sellers, with him being the eldest of 6 children. Tanjiro looked eerily like his father, and even shared the marking on his forehead. In fact, after his younger brother Takio caused an incident, Tanjiro burnt himself and the mark grew larger. As his father's health declined and his mother not able to both continue the work and raise the children, Tanjiro stepped up to fill the role. As the years passed, Tanjiro also enjoyed his father's performance of the Hinokami Kagura, baffled by how such a frail man could dance, even in the snow, for such a long time. Not long before his father died, Tanjiro was able to witness him take down a massive bear with one strike of an axe. When his father passed away, he took over selling charcoal full-time to support the family, and he'd already memorized the dance his father had shown him countless times, while keeping specific techniques in the back of his mind. He also inherited the family heirloom, the Hanafuda earrings his father wore. Now being in charge of coal burning, traveling in all types of weather, and carrying heavy loads of charcoal, Tanjiro built up certain physical aspects. He was also blessed with an acute sense of smell. This serves him well on many occasions later on. One day, Tanjiro leaves as usual to sell charcoal to a nearby town. But seeing as he goes there often, the townspeople chat and ask him for help with tasks. Time passes quickly, and the sun begins to go down. He ends up staying the night at a neighbor's house named Saburo, and in the morning he leaves. Once back home, he can smell the blood before he sees it and rushes inside. There he finds only blood and murder. His family has been slain by a demon. The only survivor is Nezuko, the second oldest, but she's lost a lot of blood and is unconscious from the attack. With no time to lose, Tanjiro puts her on his back and rushes to find a doctor. But before he can, Nezuko begins to wake up and growls like a monster. She's become a demon. Trying to keep her from attacking him, Tanjiro and his sister tumble down the mountain in the snow. With only a hatchet at his disposal, Tanjiro keeps his sister back, her jaw around the handle as she snarls with hunger. As she gets stronger and bigger from her demonic powers, Tanjiro only feels regret for not being there to save them in such a dire moment. From that, Nezuko cries and calms down her attack on him. Tanjiro is so surprised by her sudden change in emotion that he doesn't notice the Slayer approaching until he's got Nezuko in his grasp. Despite Tanjiro pleading for her to be spared and willing to risk everything to have her survive, the Slayer doesn't want to hear any of it. But when Tanjiro launches a clever but unsuccessful attack at him and ends up unconscious, he changes his mind. Nezuko has come to his aid, defending him. When Tanjiro wakes up, he's told to see a former Hashira named Sakonji Urokodaki, who may be able to help him with his predicament. The Slayer, Giyu, has also provided a bamboo muzzle for Nezuko and clean clothing. Before heading to Urokodaki's home, he brings Nezuko with him to give their family a proper goodbye. In order to travel with her, Tanjiro has to find a safe cover for his sister's demon weakness. While she waits for him, he buys a basket and prepares it to keep the sun out. After walking for many hours, Tanjiro still hasn't arrived at his destination. The sun's going down, and he's warned of the road he's traveling since it hides dangers. As he follows a building with light, he also catches the whiff of blood. But of course, when he goes inside, the victims are already dead, being devoured by a demon. With no experience in fighting, besides holding off Nezuko, he struggles against the demon until she kicks his head off. Even so, the demon continues to try and bite him, growing arms from his head. Eventually, they take down the demon's body, and he goes unconscious. Tanjiro tries to get himself to finish the creature, but a man in a Tengu mask appears, wondering why he's hesitating so long. When he can't get himself to smash the demon with a rock, the sun finishes the job for him. The Tengu wearer turns out to be Urokodaki, already unimpressed by his earlier behavior despite Giyu vouching for him. Regardless, Urokodaki has Tanjiro follow him at a breakneck speed. Tanjiro has no choice, carrying Nezuko on his back too. Already out of breath, Urokodaki puts him through the actual test next, climbing up a mountain and making his way back to his home before dawn. Besides the air being much thinner and the fog making it hard to see where he's going, Tanjiro also has to dodge and avoid traps that could properly take him down. He's banged up a few times, but he starts to rely on his nose and gets through the grueling test by the expected time, passing out right at Urokodaki's front door. To become a demon slayer, Tanjiro endures grueling physical training, while also trying to increase his stamina and sword skills. This is also the moment when he first learns of total concentration, the water breathing techniques, something that allows him to survive in a number of battles. Even after all this, there's still one more challenge for him to overcome, slicing through a massive boulder so he can join the final selection. While he struggles to even scrape the rock, a duo of slayers appear and offer teachings, since Urokodaki has left him alone. After 2 years, for all his training, Tanjiro faces the masked boy and ends up cutting the boulder right down the middle. This shocks Urokodaki since he purposely chose the biggest and most difficult challenge for Tanjiro. Nonetheless, he heads to final selection. The test is simple. Tanjiro must survive for 7 days alongside other Demon Slayer hopefuls on Mount Fujikasane. Once it begins, he questions demons about helping Nezuko, but no one responds. Eventually, a massive demon that Urokodaki captured personally hunts and kills many applicants. This affects Tanjiro. It doesn't help that he finds out Urokodaki's students were all targeted, including the 2 who trained him. Tanjiro steps in and takes down the hand demon after some struggling. This also marks the first time Tanjiro finds the opening thread on a demon's neck. After some small fights, Tanjiro heads to the endpoint, noticing how few actually survive. After choosing his ore and receiving a Kasugai crow, Tanjiro returns to Mount Sagiri to reunite with his mentor and sister. Having slept for 2 years, Nezuko kicks down the door and greets Tanjiro. Likewise, Urokodaki's beyond relieved that Tanjiro has returned, holding the siblings close like his children. After Tanjiro recovers, Haganezuka, his swordsmith, brings him his new blade, and it turns black when he unsheaths it. But there's no time to dwell on that, it's time for his first solo mission. After getting dripped out, Tanjiro's first assignment involves missing girls in a village nearby. A devastated man named Kazumi tells him about his fiancée, and with the help of Tanjiro's nose, he locates the swamp demon. Luckily, he also saves the next victim from being consumed. On the flip side, Tanjiro has to face a demon with 3 bodies as his blood demon art. Nezuko ends up helping him, and after destroying the main body, he gives Kazumi a memento of his fiancée, along with the others in the demon's possession. Afterwards, Tanjiro heads to Asakusa with Nezuko, blown away by the amount of people around. When he's about to enjoy some ramen, he picks up the same scent at his home, the demon who killed his family. Without hesitation, Tanjiro runs towards the demon who has blended into society with a fake family. In a flash, he scratches someone in the crowd and makes them a demon that Tanjiro has to hold off. Not wanting to harm the man, Tanjiro begs the people around for help. Thankfully, 2 non-violent demons come to his aid, releasing a calming scent. Tanjiro follows the 2, named Tabuyo and Yushiro, and she tells him that she also wants to destroy Muzan for his cruel acts. While there, Tanjiro also finds out that he might be able to cure Nezuko with her help, so long as he can provide strong demon's blood. Before they can discuss more, 2 demons tasked with killing Tanjiro attack Tamayo's hidden residence. One uses arrows, and the other uses Tamari's. Thanks to Yushiro's support at deciphering the demon's techniques and Nezuko's backup, Tanjiro is able to slice the arrow user's neck, and then avoids dying by launching numerous attacks back to back. The Tamari demons ruthlessly destroyed by Muzan for saying his name, and sadly, neither of them are part of Muzan's inner circle of demons like they thought. Tanjiro leaves the 2, heading this next mission, but on the way there, he bumps into a desperate man, clinging to a woman who's not interested in him. Yes, it's Tanjiro's first companion and future brother-in-law, Zenitsu. Even the ever-understanding Tanjiro can't believe his behavior, especially since he's a fellow demon slayer. After dragging him away, they head to Suzumi Mansion, hoping to save any survivors inside. He leaves Nezuko outside with the younger civilians. A blood demon art involving drums makes the inside both a maze and impossible to escape from without luck. That's exactly why Tanjiro bumps into another slayer, Inosuke, wearing a boar head and trapped himself. It takes a while for Tanjiro to figure out the technique and what each drum does after it's hit. And it doesn't help that Inosuke is getting in the way and injuring the young child he's protecting. But after finding the missing brother and getting the civilians out of the way, Tanjiro puts all his focus and training into fully grasping Kyogai's demon art. With no more distractions, Tanjiro takes the demon down, and even acknowledges both his writing and demon ability. Once inside, he finds a beaten and bloody Zenitsu, protecting the case with Nezuko inside while Inosuke pummels him. Immediately, he steps in and protects Zenitsu, eventually knocking Inosuke out with his hard forehead, another gift of his. They're offered by the crow to go heal up until their next mission. Mount Nagumo proves to be one of Tanjiro's hardest battles, especially since he can't figure out which spider-themed demon is the one in charge. Kind-hearted Tanjiro is forced to witness his seniors killing each other, and then being brutally finished off. Another demon's flesh is so hard that he can't cut through it. But worst of all, Rui, the leader, tries to take his sister away, and even torments her. After easily breaking Tanjiro's sword, still, Tanjiro makes a comeback, recalling the sacred Hinokami Kagura and uses it to behead Rui. This is also the first time he's able to turn his blade red, thanks to Nezuko's exploding blood. Unfortunately, Rui removed his own head to counter the attack, so Tanjiro's first ally Giyu ends him, and then defends the siblings when Shinobu comes after Nezuko. This prompts a summons for Tanjiro to meet the master of the Demon Slayer Corps. After much debating among the Hashira and Ubuyashiki, Tanjiro is allowed to continue his travels with Nezuko, so long as she never attacks a human, and then Tanjiro rests up for his next mission while training total concentration. The next assignment involves a train filled with mystery and death. From the very start, something seems off, but Tanjiro, like his comrades, and even Flame Hashira Rengoku, ends up falling into a deep dream. If not for Nezuko's demon art, Tanjiro may have died inside that slumber, living with his deceased family. Let's not overlook the fact that Tanjiro was able to slice his own neck to wake up. That takes immense willpower. The others awaken as well, and the battle against Enmu, the demon controlling the train, begins. Working with Inosuke, Tanjiro's both able to survive being repeatedly put to sleep and then uses Hinokami to slice Enmu's neck. But having been stabbed before that, it leaves Rengoku alone to fight the upper rank demon Akaza. Watching him die leaves deep wounds in Tanjiro's heart. After paying his respects and trying to return Rengoku's sword hilt, Tanjiro heals up and trains. 4 months later, he joins Tengen on a mission to save his wives from a demon hidden in a flashy city, and he's disguised as a woman. After Zenitsu is taken, Tanjiro and Inosuke are meant to leave the mission to Tengen, but there's no way someone as caring as Tanjiro could do that. Plus, his nose can always catch the stench of a monster. Despite never facing an upper moon on his own, Tanjiro prepares to take her down, and even frees the Oiran from Daki's sash without injuring the woman. As they continue to fight, Daki proves her heartlessness by slicing people and buildings around them. This triggers an intense rage inside Tanjiro. His eyes turn redder, and he comes for her neck with unmatched focus. But it's at the cost of his body, which feels the effects of both sun breathing and his loss of control. Nearly killed, Nezuko has to step in to protect him. Nezuko seems to mirror Tanjiro's earlier fury, and has to be soothed by Tanjiro before she bites a human. When Tengen arrives, he easily cuts down Daki, but it just unleashes a worse monster, her brother Gyotaro. Tanjiro flashily combines water and sun breathing during this battle too. Even with all 4 of them working together, Tengen is poisoned and loses an arm. Zenitsu's legs are destroyed and Inosuke stabbed in the chest. Even so, Tanjiro pushes himself to find a way to take down the taunting demon. After Tengen recovers a bit, they join forces to slice Gyotaro's neck, but only after Tanjiro pushes his body to its utmost limit, turning his hair red, his eyes white, and activating the mark on his forehead. That changes everything. A chain reaction has been activated, and it's not just because of Tanjiro's magnetic personality. Once you defeat an upper moon, you've reached a new level, is what Kenroji tells him. But he's also seeing strange memories from his ancestors. As fate would have it, the man in his dream is also the model for the mechanical doll he uses to improve his sword skills. Kotetsu nearly makes him die from starvation and dehydration though. At the same time, he's able to break through to an emotionless Hashira named Muchiro, and even befriends Genya, who he had confronted at final selection. But more importantly, he's here because of another sword mishap. This leaves Tanjiro guilt-ridden, and trying to make up with Haganezuka while there. But let's backtrack a bit. Tanjiro has two Hashira, his sister, and Genya to support him during this arc. But they're also against two upper moons, one of which can split himself into 4 emotions when beheaded. And let's not forget Hentengu's parts, which each have their own unique abilities. Things are going okay-ish, but with Muchiro facing Gyoko elsewhere, and Kenroji not here yet, they struggle to take down Hentengu's bodies. Using both the Mark and Hinokami, Tanjiro slashes 3 at once, with Genya taking the last one. It's still not enough. Thankfully, Tanjiro's nose always helps, and he locates the tiny body. Genya's not able to slice his neck, so Tanjiro has to take over. Again, Hentengu changes shape, this time to absorb the emotions into Zohakuten. Without Kenroji holding him back as Tanjiro chases the real Hentengu, all would be lost. And yet, Tanjiro's the reason for Muchiro and Kenroji unlocking their marks. What's more, one conversation with Zenitsu was enough for Tanjiro to reach a faster movement speed, even while injured. After falling off the cliff, Tanjiro continues to pursue Hentengu. He slices the large body easily, but the real one is hidden within, near his heart. The fact that Tanjiro knows this hints at him seeing the transparent world later on. Despite wanting to save the swordsmiths, Tanjiro can't choose who to help, his sister or them. So she decides for him. Devastated but determined, he ends Hentengu, finally, expecting to have lost his entire reason for coming this far. He hasn't. As he recovers from the last fight, everyone's summoned to Ubuyashiki's estate for Hashira training. Normally that would be reserved for Sugoku, but this is a special situation. Tanjiro's sister has immunity to the sun, and Muzan will not let that slide. With that in mind, everyone needs to be ready for when he strikes. That allows Tanjiro to reunite with friends and allies, glad to see them again while he does rehab. Afterwards, he puts through different training regimens: stamina, flexibility, reflex, sword skills, endurance, and muscle reinforcement. Ubuyashiki even requests that Tanjiro help Giyu to open up more, and succeeds. The only thing that goes wrong is endurance training with Shinazugawa. They dislike each other, and Tanjiro can't sit by and let him bully Genya. Unfortunately, he doesn't know the whole story, and never gets the chance to. Because after he's done with Gyome's waterfall suffering the rock pushing through repetitive motion, Muzan has found their location. After a joint attack from Ubuyashiki and Tamayo, everyone there is sent into the vast space controlled by the Biwa demon and purposely split into groups. Tanjiro ends up with Giyu, a perfect complement to his literal fiery techniques. He runs behind Giyu, avoiding the shifting floors and walls, meant to get them trapped or drop them to their death. And that's when he hears that Shinobu has been killed, one of the first slayers to teach him and care for him. At this point, our MC has mastered a number of skills, but not the ones he'll need to face his strongest opponent yet, the demon who killed Rengoku, Akaza. Unlike with many of his past fights, this one is deeply personal for Tanjiro. He pushes himself to use Hinigami Kagura immediately, if only to cut off Akaza's arm, but this battle allows for no breaks, no stops, and no hesitation. Every swing must matter. He even surprises Giyu and Akaza with how much he's grown. That doesn't mean that danger still doesn't loom. After all, Akaza's the playful type. He wants a fight to last, and dislikes the weak. It's not just their techniques that clash, but their mindsets. With Tanjiro refuting Akaza's beliefs, he starts to break him down. Even facing imminent death and his blade at risk, Tanjiro reacts quickly, and gets a little help from Giyu, of course. They might be lasting against Akaza, but they don't have time to fight for long. there's still other demons to take down. Thanks to Inosuke, Tanjiro recalls that people with honed senses can't feel a being's presence if they hold no hostility whatsoever. Neutrality is key in a fight. Tanjiro's father showed it to him when he was young. If not for Gyu keeping Akaza busy though, Tanjiro wouldn't have the time to come up with a plan to take him down. Akaza wrongly thinks he's killed Tanjiro after a large-scale attack. He's clearly standing behind him from Gyu's perspective, so it's his chance to strike swiftly. Instead, Tanjiro announces his presence and disappears fast enough to decapitate him. The fight would have ended in Akaza's win if not for the demon regaining his memories and giving up on being the strongest. After that insane fight, Tanjiro and Gyu are more than exhausted and pass out. All of the Upper Moon demons are destroyed, but at the cost of Muichiro and Genya's lives too. But that's quickly overpowered by the sheer righteous anger he feels when he gets to Muzan and his blasé attitude towards murder. Without a doubt, it's the most glacial look he's ever shown us. Tanjiro somehow quells that feeling and reminds himself that he should find any information about this demon that he can. Before the rest arrive, Muzan swings giant branch-like appendages at him and Gyu. Not only are they thick, but they're as sharp as blades. Even when he's able to get in close to avoid the widespread attacks, he's instantly hit in the face and loses an eye. Thankfully, Gyu's still there to cover for him. And having Yushiro plant false images in Nakame's mind to mislead Muzan really helps too. Normally, Tanjiro would rely on his nose, but he's too disoriented from losing an eye. That's when Obane and Mitsuri step in for a surprise attack, covering Tanjiro once more. Muzan gives up on the Biwa demon and tries to destroy the entire castle with everyone inside. But once again, Yushiro helps by getting them thrown outside instead. Now it's an endurance race until dawn. Muzan's confident he'll overcome them all, but he always underestimated certain people. The Hashira jump him without hesitation, with corpse members risking their lives to defend them from attacks. But no one notices Tanjiro's missing. He's on the ground, writhing in pain from Muzan's blood going through his system like poison. He's on the verge of death, his eye completely covered in thick flesh. As Murata carries him away from the fight, he relives his ancestors' memories with Yoriichi, the strongest swordsman. Meanwhile, Yushiro injects him with a mixture created by Tamayo. While Murata tries to spur him on to fight Muzan, Tanjiro grips his blade tighter and tighter until his eye snaps open. When he jumps back in the fight, all the Hashira have been seriously injured and blown away. But he still manages to shield Kanao before Muzan can take her down, and has renewed his will to defeat the progenitor now that he's seen the past again. Tanjiro knows the only way to win is to use all 12 forms of sun breathing until Muzan's organs are destroyed. This should at least slow him down until morning. He knows he's not as good as Yoriichi, no one is, but he's willing to try as many times as it takes. With the help of the Hashira, bodies under duress, and Tamayo's concoction, they succeed to rid the world of him. But is it over? Muzan clings to life like a parasite and forces his way into Tanjiro's body. For a brief moment it looks like it's all over. Consider this, a demon in sunlight who can use Hinokame, sees the transparent world and makes himself invisible. But thanks to both Nezuko and Kanao, he's pushed back to humanity. 3 months later, with one eye and one working hand, Tanjiro returns to his family home and appreciates his friends after leaving flowers for the fallen corpse members. At some point, he marries Kanao and has a family. In the present day, stories of what had happened still circulate among his descendants, but it's considered fairy tales rather than historical. From what we see, Zenitsu became Tanjiro's brother-in-law, and a descendant of the Rengoku line befriended Tanjiro's descendant as well, living peacefully. And that is the story of Tanjiro. If you like this video, guys, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you want more content like this. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.